Well, good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to my weekly show, Step Up to Rise Up. This is a show dedicated to those among us that know that they are called for more, that something deep within you that knows that you need to step up to rise up and be your best self. And that's what this show is about. In case we're meeting for the first time, I'm Linda Nelson, and I'm a mindset confidence coach and creator of the Believe in You Academy. And I guide heart centered female solopreneurs like you to grow your business by focusing on your most important asset, you. Oftentimes, we neglect the very thing that is responsible for the growth of our business. We need to really embrace who we are and find our purpose. So I provide strategies to help you turn your passion into purpose and profit so that you can live the life of intention and impact you deserve. So as I said, this is a weekly show, and it's one that we spend some time on a lot of these topics going forward. We spent a lot of time the month of January thinking about goals and intention and turning those intentions into living a life of meaning and impact. And so, in that same vein, we moved on to the month of February, we're in already. And that was its purpose, I guess, from my perspective for you, is to focus on spending some time just for you, to take needed time to care for yourself, because you care for so many people that rely on you to be at your very best. And so this month of love is designed, I guess, for us to self-love as well. So just to recap a little bit about where we've been, last week we talked about finding our purpose and how it's so easy, without even realizing it, to have our lives get to be on autopilot. We've actually been working on some habits to get some good habits established in our life that we can get on autopilot, so that we do that without thinking. But what tends to happen is we start out the year with all the intentions of really making it count this year. And we are wanting to have 2022 be our best year ever. And of course, we've talked about how if you want to have your best year, you have to be your best too. Something has to change from what you did last year. And that change is usually you. And so last week we talked about how it's easy to go back to familiar. We kind of shelve all those things, all those plans that we had, all those intentions, those goals that we had at the beginning of the year that we were excited about. And then we tend to go back to old familiar patterns again. And it's kind of the human condition. It happens. My goal is to ensure that you don't live a life that feels stuck or overwhelmed or aimless or unmotivated, but rather take responsibility for your life and create the life that you want. I know that I have someone joining me because I can see somebody. So if you're watching me live, just drop in the comments that you're here, say hello, maybe where you're tuning in from, and I will circle back. For those of you catching me on replay later, also let me know that you're there by commenting in the comments, hashtag replay below the video, and I'll circle back for any thoughts or questions that you might have as well. So with that, let's get into today's topics, which is a little bit about how we get to those feelings of feeling a little bit aimless or on autopilot or just letting life happen. Like what can lead us there? And then also to talk about 3 things that you can do right now to change that trajectory, because we don't want you to stay in this space of feeling stuck or aimless, or that life is just passing you by. So, as I said, last week we talked about finding your purpose. That is absolutely critical to living a life of meaning and intention, because when you know your purpose, you get up excited every day to live that out. And so last week I gave you 7 strategies that you can do to find your purpose. And so if you didn't take time or want to take time this week, just go back to the guides section. All of the trainings from our Step Up to Rise Up weekly show are housed there, and you can always find them in the guides section. I believe it's even guide 1, so you should find that pretty quickly. So if finding your purpose is the key to living an intentional life, then this week we want to talk about how all the things that happen in our life, like I said, it's almost like the human condition. There's so many things that happen to us in our lives that can get us kind of going through the motions, or each day feels the same. We get up, we do the same things. We go to work, we come home, whatever those routines are that become automatic. And then somehow we get to a place of our life is just happening, and we haven't taken charge or control of our lives like we can. And so when you feel stuck in life, here's some things that might be going on for you, and see if you resonate with any of these things I'm about to list. I know for me, a couple of years ago, when the pandemic started, I was exactly in this place, just feeling a sense of overwhelm, of being unmotivated, of dealing too long in a space of unfamiliar, and it led to my feeling very aimless. And so here's some reasons why that can happen. Number one, as we talked last week, you might be lacking a deeper sense of meaning or purpose in your life. And I know that was certainly true for me. I had just, I was going through the motions too in my life. And although I was doing some things that brought me joy in my work life, I just wasn't as fulfilled as I knew I could be. And I knew somehow, intuitively, that I was my worst enemy. So I began to work on that, finding my purpose. Like, what is it that I am to be doing in this chapter of my life? The other thing that can happen to get you in that place of feeling stuck or unmotivated, or kind of lacking a sense of purpose, is you can be in a place of either overload, where you've got so many things on your list of things to do that you really have like shut down. You're experiencing overwhelm and burnout and some of those things that can lead to that aimlessness that we can sometimes feel. And certainly, as we were going through the pandemic, I know you all felt this. I did too. The times were challenging. They were unfamiliar. We were going through some things we hadn't gone through before. And so many of us experienced that sense of overwhelm and burnout and being challenged. And that can certainly lead to feelings of feeling aimless. And so I think that we're just sort of in that time until things become maybe more certain, that we can stay stuck in there if we're not careful. So certainly these crazy times that we have been in have added to that. Even if you found ways to get out of those challenging circumstances before, we were just in that unknown period of time for far too long. And so many people have been stuck in this space for a while. Another thing that can happen, another reason that you can feel aimless, is there is, on a subconscious level, some self-limiting beliefs that are coming into play, or even self-sabotage in a way. And again, I was in this space too. I felt like I was called myself to reach higher, but I had some limiting beliefs about confidence, about belief in myself, about I'm too old to make a change. All of those things that prevented me from moving forward to a more meaningful life. And so I was really self sabotaging myself without realizing it by all those limiting beliefs that came up for me. And I had to spend some time with that to move out of that space that I was in into some new territory. In other words, I was in a comfort zone and I needed to move into courageous zone, which was scary. And so often I would find myself sabotaging my own efforts, even for fear, not even just of failure, but also of success. But again, I was in my way. And then there's another reason for we can stay stuck or stay aimless for a time, and that is perfectionism or fear of uncertainty. When we're about to start something new, a new job, a new skill, new habits, sometimes we wait for all the lights to be green before we go. And of course, that's not realistic. We're going to bump into red lights too. But too often we let perfectionism stand in our way before we begin. Like we want everything to be perfect, everything to be set before we go. And again, that can keep us stuck longer than we should be there. And then, as we already discussed, times of uncertainty or moving into that courageous zone where life is uncertain can cause us to be paralyzed sometime and not take action because we're unsure of how things will turn out. And of course, that's part of the challenge of getting to a new place, is going through those uncertain times. And then there's the last reason, and there's many. I'm just talking about 5 or so today, but there is the emotional conflict between our desires, what we want for our life, and what other people think. And I know I have been in this space for far too long. I have let what people think of me weigh far too much on my mind instead of going after what I believed intuitively and also where God was pushing me as well. So that emotional conflict can really keep us stuck for a while too. So let me rephrase or restate those 5 things that can happen that can kind of keep us feeling in that aimless or stuck position. And that is number 1, a lack of a deeper sense of meaning or purpose. Number 2, feelings of overwhelm or overload or burnout can lead to that. Number 3, an unconscious self-limiting belief or self-sabotage. Number 4, wanting things to be perfect or being afraid of uncertainty. And the 5th one is that emotional conflict between what we want and what other people think we should want. So those are the things, some of the reasons why being in this space is very common. And it's why often this time of year, that excitement of setting those new intentions for the year is waning because we're letting ourselves get into those other zones, if you will, and we revert back to what's familiar. And again, it's the human condition. We all do it. So first we want to be aware, but here are now 3 things I want to give you to consider today to take you out of this space, because you know what? I don't want you to stay stuck. I want you to keep moving forward. And of course, the very first thing that we talked about last week is to spend some time discovering your purpose, really giving time and thought to what is it that you want to do, that you know you need to do, perhaps intuitively, or even answering the call that God has on your life that is nudging you to step up, to elevate, to do some things different that are scary. Sometimes He's pushing you, and you recognize that, but you've been resisting that. I know I found myself there many times. So the first thing you do is spend some time with finding your purpose. That's a really key step to getting unstuck. It's the reason why we're stuck is we don't have a definition or clarity about that. The second thing you can do is really cultivate your inner strength. And I want to reinforce with you that you have all the answers within. You intuitively know your next steps, what you need to do, where you're being called. You know that in the deepest parts of you. But because we let the noise of the world and all the distractions and all the responsibilities and all the things we're asked to do in a day, we let that get in our way. And that's why I've been working with you and challenging you to take time in some kind of routine for silence and for journaling, because so much is revealed to us in silence. We need to honor the silence. Answers are found there for you. That's where God speaks to us. We can't hear him in all the noise. So we have to set aside personal time. We have to love ourselves enough to care for ourselves, to ask some tough questions, and to be in silence so that we can hear some answers. And so you need to cultivate that inner strength. You need to find ways to pull out what's already there and find answers for yourself. Number 3, a strategy is you might have to invest in someone who can help guide you through that process. That is literally what I did the last several years, is I went on a journey of self-discovery. I felt God nudge me in that direction. And he wasn't just calling me to find out those answers for myself, although that was step 1. He was also nudging me to help other women find their inner courage and as well, to find their strength, to rely on their intuitions. But I needed to hire a life coach, because you know what? It is hard to ask ourselves tough questions. We let ourselves off the hook. I was really good at asking everyone else tough questions and getting to the heart of the matter. And certainly silence helped me in that. But I made much more progress when I decided to invest in myself and look for the resources and a person that could guide me through that process. And now I've learned so much that I want to just share with you in helping you manage those waters as well. And so that is the third thing you can do. And the fourth thing, which seems crazy, but the fourth thing, the antidote for almost any struggle we have, is action. We have to take some action. And again, it can feel counterintuitive. It's like I'm stuck, I'm unmotivated, I don't know what steps to take. Like getting into action just doesn't seem like something you can do. But that is exactly the antidote for anything that ails you. And so taking baby steps, doing something small every day is really the answer to get you on that path toward that more purposeful life. So I got a surprise for you, just in time for you to get from aimless to action. I am going to be asking you to invest 5 hours next week with me in my Aimless to Action 5-day momentum challenge. This time that you spend with me is really going to get you into action, and the 5 hours you invest is time invested in you. And so I will have some more information in the group as we go forward. But I'm going to invite you to that Aimless to Action challenge so that you can get yourself into some good action. So be on the lookout for more of those things. Take action. Continue on your journey of discovering your purpose, and spend some time in silence in finding answers, in getting away with time with yourself. Some of you are following the Miracle Morning with me. It's a great way to begin your morning and getting your day off to a good start. We'll talk about that strategy more next week. But for now, get on your calendar, noon every day next week, Monday through Friday, to spend some time in the Aimless to Action 5-day momentum challenge. And I hope that you will do that for yourself. Those of you who have joined me, I can see, I think there's at least 2. Could you just let me know in the comments that you're here so I can say hello to you before I sign off? You guys are shy today. No thoughts, questions. Hi, Angie. I knew you were probably one of them. Good to have you join me. Angie, is this resonating with you? Have you had some of those aimlessness things? You're doing some courageous things by getting out of your comfort zone and have begun a new job. I'm so proud of you. That's a big step, big action step. So thanks for sharing that with me last week. So yeah, if you don't have any other comments, questions, anything else you're thinking about or wondering about, or if you happen to think of them later, just write those comments below and I will circle back. As always, I appreciate you joining me live, but if you are catching this on the replay, I appreciate you too. Just mark hashtag replay in the comments so I can circle back and say hello. And if any of this resonated with you or you're in that space of feeling a little bit aimless, remember, this is just part of your journey onto your intentional life. And we get stalled out. This is just one of those places that we stall. So I'm here to help support you through that and continue to keep you moving. So I hope you'll join me next week. I'm excited to share some stuff with you and get you into gear, into action. Have a wonderful day, everyone, and thanks again for joining me.